You are about to see a most unique exhibition of golf instruction. Your instructor is Mike Austin, Class A member of the PGA, and for 35 years a golf professional. He is considered one of the top 4 long ball hitters of the game, and in tournament play has driven the ball 447 yards from the tee. Mike Austin is an engineer, psychologist, kinesiologist, a trick shot artist, and probably the most advanced instructor in golf today. He's just returned from Japan and Hong Kong, where he conducted golf exhibitions and clinics. Over there, he was dubbed Ichiban Utsu, world's #1 hitter. You've been watching Mike's exceptional control and executing the golf swing in slow motion. Now, in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, you will meet Mike Austin. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Austin. Mike, what's the purpose of the costume you're wearing?
To show the framework of the body and the movement of the joints to enable one to attain the positions necessary to get the best results from their golf swing.
Let's start at the beginning and the proper way to address the ball.
I stand in erect position to begin with and separate the heels about 12 inches and the toes about 15 inches. I then bend from the ball and socket joints of my hip about 30 degrees toward the ball. I place my left arm in a position, in an extended position this way, and my hands on the club, and place the club head behind the ball, and then lower the right shoulder and flex the right knee so I can get my hand on the club correctly, my right hand on the club correctly, ready to start the back swing.
Mike, do you grip the club in the same way as the other leading golf professionals?
Yes, I use the standard overlap grip. This is where palm versus palm, and the arms form a figure V from the wrist to the shoulders. I place the palm of my left hand on the front side of the shaft, with the heel of the left hand on the top of the shaft, and the thumb of the left hand on the top of the shaft. I then wrap the forefingers of the left hand around the underside of the grip so that I have a full grip with all the fingers and thumbs of the left hand. I then bring the ring finger of the right hand up against the index finger of the left hand, placing the palm of the right hand behind the shaft. I then wrap the other 2 fingers of the right hand underneath the club and the upper part of the right thumb, which is the heavy, meaty part of the right thumb, over the left thumb, and I wind up with what I call the standard overlap grip.
How do you start your backswing?
I start the backswing by a coordinated action of these members of my body. I extend the right knee, and I flex the left knee. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see the knee action. By flexing this left knee, that means it goes out. Pulling the right knee back, it sets up the axis on which the pivot is made. While I'm doing this, I rotate the left shoulder simultaneously underneath the chin, between the neck and the ball, so that it's turned about 90 degrees. This puts me in a position so that I can turn the left side, wind up the big muscles of the back, and get the greatest amount of potential power that you can out of a swing.
What are some of the wrong ways to start the backswing?
Well, to stand here like this and pick up the club independently is one way. To stand here like this and try to pull it inside too deeply is another way. To stand with the feet too wide apart is another way to get in a bad position to start it. When you start this club, it's got to be a coordinated action of the body and the members, each member of the whole structure of the body, working together with the cocking of the hands, the only independent action in the golf swing. If you take this club back and let the shoulders turn with the flexion of the left knee and the extension of the right knee, you get into a position that you can really utilize your forces with the greatest amount of
You
efficiency.
mentioned cocking the wrists. When do you start to cock your wrist on the backswing?
I start my wrist cocking in the lower part of the back swing. In other words, as I shift my weight here, my arms are moving with the shift of weight and the rotation of my shoulders, and I exert a pressure with the heel of the left hand and the index finger of the right hand just as I pass the right foot, which you'll see the hand starting to bend here. This allows the right elbow to fold in the extended arc of the left and causes my club to stay on the proper plane so that I can get into this particular position here.
Mike,
and
do you
return.
advocate packing the right elbow in close, tight against the right side on the backswing?
Well, I certainly do not. I think this is one of the greatest ills in the golf game. Packing the right elbow does not allow you to separate the club the proper distance here from the ball to attain the force that's necessary to drive it any distance. In other words, you have only a segment to swing this way. When you don't pack it, you can get it here and really have time enough to build up some force before you get back to the ball. By packing the right elbow into the right side, it makes the swing flat. It also causes the left shoulder to rotate on the horizontal plane, throwing your head back off your center plane, which you must maintain to have consistency in a golf swing. If you start your swing with this packing the right arm, your first movement is pulling the club off of this track, off of the perimeter of your circle. I try to keep as far away from me throughout the swing as the point at which I address the ball. When I address the ball, if I took the hands and did this, and I got to the top, they're still the same distance away from me. I don't ever want them closer to me than when I address it. I'm that far away from the ball. So you can see the disadvantages in trying to pack the arm here. Rocks the shoulders, takes the club off of the perimeter of the circle. It gives you an unsteady head position, and by doing this, you cannot get the results that you desire.
To sum up the backswing, could you show us on the skeleton the particular positions of each part of the body and each movement of the backswing?
Well, by extending the right knee, I set up an axis so that I can pivot the left side in toward the ball on. By flexing it, the left knee, it enables the left side to swing. It's like a gate on this post, which would be the right leg. Now, when I get to the top of the backswing, you'll see that this right knee is flexed out like this. It gives me a big base to establish a balance with. Rotation to the shoulder into this position right here winds up the large muscles of the small of the back, so I can utilize those to create force with when I shift over to the left leg to start the downswing. If you maintain a steady position with the left arm like a figure 7, letting this be an axle about which this hub and this spoke rotates, you can time this thing correctly just by unfolding the things that folded on the backswing, you see? So my wrists are folding, my right elbow is folding, my left knee is folding, my right knee is straight, my left elbow is straight.
Thank you, Mike. Before we ask you to demonstrate your method of executing the downswing, we'll pause right now for just 60 seconds. Now, Mike, let's get to the downswing. How do you determine just when to start the club head down to meet the ball?
Well, when I feel that my weight is supported by the right leg and the right hip, and the big muscles, these large muscles of the back are wound up, the shoulders then, if you actually feel like the left shoulder is facing that ball, you're pretty near wound up. The hands will then be splitting a plane between the right ear and the right shoulder. So you get the full turn of the shoulders with the support of the legs in this way. Now to start this downswing, you've got to shift from what we call the rear axis to the fore axis, which is the left leg. This initiates the downswing. This also is advancing the left arm. It is not a pull with the left arm, a drop down this way with the left arm. It is a shift. It starts the downswing. You shift to the left leg by extending the right ankle, flexing the right knee, stepping down on the left heel, drawing the left knee back into extension to set up the axis on which this pivot will be made in this manner. While you are doing this, your left shoulder is turning from a low position towards a high position. The right shoulder is turning from a high position to a low position on this transverse plane. That is the plane between the base of the neck and the ball. In other words, I don't want my shoulders to rock. And if you do it in this manner that I'm prescribing right here, your shoulders will operate like a wheel on an axle. Now watch this action here. I start this downswing by trying to raise my right heel, which forces my left hip outward and my weight down upon my left heel. It also causes my right shoulder to start lowering and my left shoulder to start raising. This in turn is moving this spoke. In other words, I utilize the shoulder as a hub and the left arm as a spoke. And when I make the shift, the hub and the spoke is moving. Then it's very simple to put back what you took out. You took out on the backswing 90 degrees by cocking your hands and by folding your right arm. Those two things have got to be straightened out to return or put back what you took out on the on the backswing. So, as I shift, I'm advancing my left arm by the shift of the weight and the rotation of my shoulders. While I'm doing this, I'm going to try to activate the head by the utilization of my hands so that the club shaft and the club head will swing faster than the left arm, and I can catch the left arm by the time the left arm gets in line with the left shoulder and the ball.
For comparison's sake, would you show us some of the wrong ways to start that downswing?
If you're here, some of the books will tell you to turn your left hip. You turn your left hip, you drop your left shoulder, you go across the outside of your line, and you swing in, making an outside-in loop and slicing the ball, topping the ball, shanking the ball. That is one incorrect movement. The other, there are many incorrect movements, but I despise the turning of the left hip because it causes you to rotate and your weight shifts backwards like a person trying to pitch a ball to a catcher and step into the second baseman. Your body motion actually neutralizes the hand motion. You have to step toward the catcher and pitch. But in the golf, it's an underhand pitch like this. So, when you take the club back and you try to pivot like this with the hips, you don't get your weight into the position that it would give you some advantages. Now, if you get at the top of the backswing like this, and you pull down with your arms, you're not traveling on the plane that the ball is on. The ball is out here, and if you move the arms down, you're traveling down the vertical instead of out the transverse where the ball is on, so you can't make contact with it. This would then cause you to have to rock your shoulders, actually hit the ball, and you go over the top of it. You roll over with your right shoulder, throw your head out of line, and you'll be out of balance.
Will you show us the proper position of the body, shoulders, arms, hands, and legs at impact?
Well, when you hit the ball, or when I get to the impact position, I am braced on my left leg, so I feel that I can support my entire body weight from the torso up on the head of the femur bone, which is this bone right here, as it enters the pelvic right here. And my right knee is bent in or flexed in between the left knee and the ball, and I feel like I'm striking this ball off of the side of the right leg and right hip with my arms not tucked into my body but extended.
Mike, what causes your hands to uncock before impact?
Well, when you move your weight forward like this, I take my left thumb and try to force it against the shaft, and also the upper part of my right thumb against the left, which causes the shaft to catch up with the left arm. But there's one motion that you've got to do in conjunction with this. While you make this motion, it's like you have a knife and you got the edge pointing right at this ball. You come down with the edge. Before you get there, you turn the broadside of this knife into the back of that ball, which is done by actually controlling these two bones in the forearm by the pronatus and the supinatus muscles. In other words, not only do we have to control the plane that we are working on, but also the blade. This blade actually stays square to the points of the compass through which it moves. If I stood here like this, say this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole, if I rotate it to the East Pole, my hand is facing back here, so it isn't anything like it was when I started. It's 90 degrees removed.
Mike, do you attempt to delay the uncocking of the wrists and the hands on the downswing?
I certainly do not. This is where I get the jump on almost anyone when I try to hit the ball. When I move my weight over here and my shoulders rotate in this manner, I give the club a throw so it will catch up. Your stimulus begins right here. Everything works as a unit with the hands trying to work faster than the arms so they can take up the slack that's in the bend of the wrist, or what we call the cock of the hand.
Do your hands cross over on impact?
They don't cross over at impact, they cross over after impact. They're square. They're right in line. Palm on the left hand on the front of the shaft, palm of the right hand on the back of the shaft. Face square to the intended line of flight.
How
and
important...
after the...
Oh, excuse me.
And after the crossover, after the hit, the right hand crosses over the left hand, then the elbows fold and dump it over your back.
How important are the knees and elbows in hitting the ball?
Well, it's through the utilization of the knees and the elbow that you can control your balance and the club head through the golf swing.
Here's a $64 question for you, Mike. You've shown us that there are many thoughts and movements to coordinate in the golf swing. Do you consciously think of all of them when you hit the ball?
Actually, a person should try swinging until they can swing without thinking of all the component parts. It's got to be a trained reflex action. In other words, like you walk, you don't think of all the component parts of your body to walk. You shouldn't think of all the component parts when you're playing golf. You must decide what club you're going to use, get up and make your measurements, draw back and swing it, the tempo that you determined before you made the swing.
It's a case of practice, continued practice. Then.
Must be. See, if you don't, you won't be able to do this in the manner. See, if you try to do it consciously, you slow down the reflexes. It's got to be done subconsciously.
Do you feel that amateur golfers can improve their swing by watching a lesson of this kind?
Definitely, for this reason. We learn through mental images. 87% of what you see, you can comprehend. What you hear, only get about 7%. You feel about 3%. Your taste and smell are 1.5 each. This is where you divide these senses up. So by hearing, through proper instructions from a good Class A member of the PGA, and by looking at his demonstrations, and you trying to emulate that, you can get through these positions like you should to hit it correctly.
Have you ever heard the criticism made of golfers who read a book, then go out and try to play according to what they read, and their game is so messed up, they're frustrated?
Well, there's so many things in the books that have been written that I think they're adverse to the basic laws of physics and the way they structure the body, that it's impossible to do the things that are written. 90% of the books that have been written are not by the golfers whose names are on them. They are by writers who get a few words from the people that they buy their name from. And this is what I'm strictly against. I think there's too many bad books on the market. This may be a slam to my profession, but whether it is or not, I wish to make this particular statement, that I don't like the books that are written on the market today.
You've talked a lot about the weight shifting in one thing or another. What about the weight of the clubs? You use a very heavy club.
Well, for all my life, I've been trying to obtain greater distance. And by doing this, I've swung hard, and I've got to a point right now that by swinging so hard, I've lost the final touch. So to get the feeling of a club, I have to have a heavy club, you know?
But the average golfer doesn't.
Definitely not. You see, we work with a factor, the kinetic energy factor, which is mv squared divided by 2. In other words, we're working for club head speed. It's like loading a horse. If you put too much weight on a horse, he loses the race. He may be the fastest runner in the race, but if he loads the weight on this horse, they lose the race.
Good, Mike. You've given us some excellent lessons on the golf swing, and now in just a moment we'd like to have you show us on the golf course in this exclusive slow-motion film that we have following this word. Now, Mike, we'll see the results of training and practice as we watch you apply your technique in actual play on the golf course in our exclusive slow-motion film. We'll ask you, if you will, to narrate the film. First is the swing with a wood.
These pictures show a type of swing that will produce the greatest amount of potential power. This very large club head arc is a result of a full shoulder turn, extended left arm, and a little more transfer of weight than is necessary, which has forced my head to move to the right on the backswing. This compels me to shift an exaggerated amount of my weight from my right foot to my left foot in the start of the downswing. So for accuracy and precision, I recommend a steady head position and less weight shift and wind up of the shoulders on the backswing. What you've just seen of this golf swing is kind of leading you into the science which I'm trying to advocate on this particular program. That is kinesiology, which is the analyzation of the muscle movement and the utilization of the proper movements of the joints in making the golf swing.
Mike, do you hit a hook or a fade?
Well, John, it all depends on what I want to do with it. I can make it do anything that I want to do. That is, hook or slice, if according to the way the fairway or the course is lined out. I try to play the way it's lined out. If it's a slice hole, I play a slice. If it's a hook hole, I play a hook.
Well, next we have a film with you hitting the iron. And I know many have problems with their iron shots.
Here you should notice the constant plane of the shoulders, arm, shaft, and club head, rotating about a common center, which is the base of the neck. On the downswing, you should watch how the forearms are controlling the club face, so that it will meet the golf ball square to the target at impact. Notice how the body is supported by the left leg and foot at impact, as the right side swings in toward the golf ball, pivoting on the left leg and foot, and finishes with the center of our stomach facing the target. This is the ideal position that you would try to attain on the finish of a golf swing, so that you can almost stand up with the small of the back pressing against the stomach wall, the muscle of the stomach wall, in this manner.
And here again, you do not put that right elbow on the hip.
Definitely not. Watch this action here. If you put it here, you're on a too flat a plane. You're going in between the hips and the shoulders. Throws your head up and off of the position that you're trying to attain, the center position.
Now, Mike, a slow motion film of one of your trick shots, which illustrates a basic point in your philosophy of the golf swing.
The shot with the rope attached from the left arm to the club will prove that the downswing does not start from a pull of the left arm to initiate the downswing. The downswing is initiated by a coordinated action of the body, arms, hands, legs, and feet, with each receiving its stimulation at the start of the downswing and resulting in the uncorking of the wrist and the unfolding of the right elbow, that the club head and shaft catch up with the left arm at impact. I get the feeling when I take a swing at a golf ball that I am making an underhanded pitch or throw of the club head while stepping over onto my left foot and aiming the club through the golf ball. Exactly. Step and throw. Step and throw. Don't pull. Don't drop the left shoulder. Throw.
Mike, do you vary this in any way with the number of clubs, like from the short 9-iron or the wedge to your longer irons?
The only variance would be in the length of the club which you're using. My hands are still the same distance away from me. It doesn't change the action of the club itself.
But you close your stance, don't you, for the shorter shots?
Well, I would, yes. I'd move my right foot more in towards the center line, which actually closes up my position of the feet, you see.
You have, or would you consider it an abnormally big backswing? Do you think it's abnormal?
Well, actually, I have a little more because I'm trying for a little more than is necessary. You see, in getting this position that I'm getting, I wouldn't move off the ball with my head if I would stop about here. But by trying to rotate my shoulders a little more than necessary to get a regular amount of distance, I get a slight movement of my head as I go back. This has caused me a little difficulty in direction.
Thank you, Mike. Now, as we close, I wonder if you would show us that slow motion treatment of the full golf swing again. Ladies and gentlemen, KHJ-TV Channel 9 has presented Mike Austin, golf professional, in an unusual program of instruction in his advanced method of achieving a perfect golf swing. We invite your comments. Just address a postcard or letter to Golf, KHJ-TV, Hollywood 38. John Willis speaking. This has been a special sports presentation on KHJ-TV Channel 9, your Major League Sports station for Los Angeles.